We had a wild weekend for the US-China trade drama. So on Saturday morning, the US announced tariff exemptions for smartphones and computers, sparking relief amongst both Apple users and shareholders. Stock market folks rejoiced. But as expected from the Trump administration, we learned that there were a bunch of suspicious trades and short-dated Apple call options at market close on Friday. Shortly after, China officially announced they were halting shipments of several rare earth minerals to the US. Trump then went on an incoherent rant via Truth Social saying that nobody was getting off the hook. There never were tariffs on tech. They were just in a different tariff bucket, but they are still subject to the 20% fentanyl tariffs. He then suggested that the US is looking at putting tariffs on these electronic products in the future. Then the White House put out an official statement confirming what he said. And as all this went down, there were these TikTok manufacturing influencers that went viral, mocking American brands and consumers for paying top dollar for products. They also gave tips on how to bypass the tariffs.
Some say as long as there's a tag saying made in China, the bag can never be luxury. However, in fact, more than 80% of the luxury bags in the world are made in China. But those luxury brands just won't acknowledge that.
So what's happening? Well, Fareed Zakari over at CNN had an interesting take.
Every school child is taught in history books is that China was forced and humiliated by Western powers, including the United States, in the 19th century and had to back down and had to accept humiliation and a kind of neo-colonial arrangement with the foreign powers. And the message of Chinese history is never yield like that again. We will never allow ourselves to be put in a position like that.
Anyways, this is objectively a mess. The biggest concern for me is the lack of an off-ramp. The US has $36 trillion of on-balance sheet debt, over $100 trillion of off-balance sheet present value entitlements. They spend $7 trillion a year, bring in 5, and add 2 more a year in present value entitlements. In other words, they have over $136 trillion in debt and add $4 trillion more a year to that debt. And most of their products in their homes come from China. This is the irony. Most Americans want manufacturing jobs in America, but when asked if they want to work those jobs, they say, "Who, me? Oh no, that's for the peasants." So how does this end well for America? Who's going to fund their consumerism? And who's going to manufacture their products if they don't want to?